I'm Judy Baker. I'm president of Redwood Writers, and welcome to Author Launch 2024. We're going to have some fun today, and you're going to hear from the authors themselves, speaking their words and sharing with you about their books. And my partner in this venture, I should actually say the brains of the operation, Chrissy Langwell, who did the website, did the social media images, organized all of you, and she and I did an amazing workshop on how to be a successful author. And many of you attended. Come here, Chrissy. She's just fabulous. Yay! So we're going to take turns introducing the authors, and then the authors, all you have to do is come up and read from your book. And each of you has 5 minutes, and we're going to be really aware of the time. We're going to take a break in the middle so that you have a chance to mingle a little bit more, get a bite to eat, and get something to drink. And after we conclude the reading, we're going to cut the cake so that you can have some yummy author lunch cake as well. And I think we're going to have a few announcements.
Just want to say something about it.
Oh, okay. We're going to have a few announcements after the reading. And we want you to stay tuned because they're pretty amazing and awesome. But for all of you who contributed today, thank you so much. And I mean not just the authors, but the people who brought goodies for the potluck and who helped make this possible. Thank you. Chrissy, I'm going to let you say anything that you would like to say too.
Oh gosh, I don't really have anything to say except for this has been such a fun process of getting to know these 17, well, myself included, 17 authors who have new books this year, which is always something to celebrate. So we're so happy that every year we're able to make a big deal out of such a huge production, because writing a book and putting it out there is so much more than just those words. It's, you know, the time, it's the effort, it's putting your soul into this baby and putting it out to the world for, you know, enjoyment or judgment, or, you know, I mean, there's a lot to it. So we celebrate all of these authors here today. So definitely when it comes to the break time, please check out the authors' books. Please buy a couple of books, support these authors, and then think about what it will look like when you're up here with your own book. Because we have this every year, so start thinking about that. We'd love to see your book being celebrated next year or in the following years. So thank you guys so much for being here and for supporting our authors.
I won't come up. So just for all of our speakers, when you come up to the podium, even though Chris is going to introduce you and say what you're going to read, take a moment, pause, look at the microphone or me, say your name again, say what you're going to read, take a breath and start reading. Don't come right up and go, the thing that I want to tell you, because then the recording will be not as professional and interesting, because if we can cut each of you apart, besides filming the whole event, we can separate segments for just you to show to your friends and so on.
And please read slow.
Yeah, and read slow. And also, would our interpreter move over just a little bit over here?
This way?
Yeah, this way.
Oh, that
Just
way?
move your chair just a touch, just a little bit.
Just a teeny bit. And I do want to introduce Chris. Chris Eggers is a sign interpreter. And she was the founder of Communique, which is now owned by other folks. But she is here today because Rachel Zeman is one of our authors, and she is deaf and needs sign interpretation. So Chris has so generously shown up today to do this for us. We are very, very grateful. And we're going to investigate some options for the future. Thank you so much. She said she can do it later, so we'll do it later. So we'll start. Our first author is also our board member and the editor of our 2023 prose anthology, Mara Lynn Johnson. And Mara grew up in a house on a hill of which the top floor was built first. With a lifelong interest in fiction, she's published several books and many short stories. She can be found up in the trees, in bookstores, lost in thought, and at maralynnjohnston.com.
Hi, I'm Mara Lynn Johnstone, and I have story seeds for fantastical trees. Like many authors, I have too many ideas to ever write.
Close to the mic.
Is that close enough? Like that. Okay.
Yeah, it's a directional one.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm very tall. Okay. So, too many ideas to ever write means I get to share them with other people. And I've posted some of these online and people thought they were lovely, and it occurred to me I could put them in a book. And probably more than one. I have a lot of ideas just stored up on the computer for someday. So this is a selection of things that you could use as writing prompts, or you could just treat as little microfiction things that are fun to think about, or just whatever you want to do. And a lot of fantasy and science fiction, because that's the kind of thing that I enjoy. So I'm going to read a couple of these for you. Tell me about Fantasyland pirates. With peg legs made of enchanted wood, which can be planted over the buried treasure to grow into a magnificent treehouse, or planted on the seashore to grow into a new ship. Pirates with an eye patch covering the eye that can see into your soul, because that sort of thing is distracting in everyday life. Pirates with intelligent parrots, a bird that is a crewmate in its own right, while the two-legger walking around is the decoy golem. Or a bird that's actually a dragon, temporarily in bird form, just waiting for the chance to show the enemy ships why they should be feared. Pirates who have never owned a boat, though they've sunk a great many, because what use would merfolk have for a boat? Tell me about Fantasyland pirates. The idea of alien aesthetics has always been one that's underexplored in movies. The audience needs to know right away if these are the good guys. The ship should look sleek and futuristic. Never mind the fact that cultures on Earth have wildly different ideas about what looks good, never mind what actual aliens might think. Even just color schemes could be unexpected. Alien warriors who consider pink and pastel to be the most intimidating. Or diplomats who project a calm dignity in their neon camel patterns. Spaceships could be shaped like anything. Maybe an alien culture thinks it's good luck for their vessels to remember food items, to invite fortune and keep their food from spoiling on long voyages. Humans would find this funny. Humans would have to work to keep from laughing when presented with a shiny new warship built in their honor, the UES slice of pizza. Some humans would hate this intensely, while others consider it the best thing ever. Why is the idea of a robot magician so cool? Because it's unexpected, not supposed to be allowed, a blending of genres perhaps, a high technology belongs on another part of the bookshelf from the part with magic. And if you could do things with magic, why would anyone ever need to invent machinery? Well, maybe they didn't. Maybe someone from a different planet or dimension did, and they came to say hello. And I'll bet those robots would love the opportunity to shoot lightning just as much as a meat creature would. What do you think will be romanticized centuries in the future? We consider swords to be cool and cloaks elegant, even though we have guns and techno-fleece jackets now. Riding a horse is glamorous, driving a car is mundane. None of those things were special back in the day. Which of your boring modern things will be the aesthetic in the future? Will cars be obsolete, replaced by teleporters? Maybe your long, boring commute will be sighed over as a quaint pastoral joy by people who go to work by walking through a door. Maybe your descendants will live on a space station where the only animals are carefully regulated house pets and livestock. Maybe that bird outside your window, the one that's annoyingly loud and keeps dropping seeds from the bird feeder everywhere, will be as breathtaking to your great-great-great-grandkids as seeing a dragon would be to you. Glow-in-the-dark things look like magic. Imagine introducing them to someone unfamiliar with the concept. This could be a time travel story. Set yourself up as a medieval magician, or a Shakespearean-era con artist, or a Mesopotamian god, or simply a witch in the woods whose footpaths are lit by drops of moonlight. This could also be a space adventure. Maybe an alien culture has discovered fire, but not anything that glows without heat. Do they react with awe, suspicion, worship, fear? This could be a fantasy land jaunt. Imagine the reactions of the various magical creatures when you explain that no, it's not magic at all, just science. And it doesn't have to have a speculative element at all if you'd like to write about the moment a toddler sees their first glow stick, or the child is handed the almighty power of a UV flashlight and told to light up the stars on their ceiling. The world has never seemed so magical.
Okay, our next reader is Lenora Hirsch. Lenore Hirsch is a retired educator who writes in many genres, including poetry, memoir, humor, and travel. Many of these stories in her first collection have been previously published in journals and anthologies. She lives in Napa, California, with her 8-pound canine buddy, Chewy.
Yes, I'm Lenore Hirsch. Chewy is currently in training for his first cross-country plane ride. Ask me about it if you're interested. Anyway, my book of short stories is called Connection, and I'm going to read the one called Confession. I had the nightmare almost every night. I regretted what I'd done, but I couldn't take it back. The only way I could imagine easing those memories was to confess. Certainly not to the police. But what about Graham? When I was a kid and Mom and Dad went out, Graham would come over to babysit me. She baked cookies. She read me stories and gave me bubble baths. I had fun with Graham. Since I left home, my visits to Graham are rare. I still love her, but she's old and I'm busy. So I see her only once in a while. In recent years, it's been hard to be around her. She forgets everything. She asks me the same questions and tells me the same stories several times in a half hour. Her apartment feels like a sauna. I can't stand being there. I got this idea that, well, if I could tell Graham, maybe I'd feel better. I drove over there on a Saturday afternoon, a knot in my stomach. Could I do it? She welcomed me with a hug, and we sat down at her kitchen table while the kettle boiled water for tea. She looked okay. Her hair was combed, her dress clean. Graham, there's something I want to tell you. Sure, honey. You can tell me anything you want. I've never told this to anybody, Graham, and I dream about it every night. I just need to find a way to make the nightmares go away. What is it, honey? Well, it's about this guy. I dated this guy named Charlie. She nodded. Maybe she had heard about him from me or Mom. We were not a good match. We fought all the time. He didn't understand me, and he wanted to be the boss of everything, and I didn't know how to get out of the relationship. So there was this one time that we were fighting, and he slapped me. He slapped me hard, and I couldn't believe it. I got away, but I didn't have the guts to break it off with him. I said to myself, though, if he ever does that again, I'll stand up to him. I'm not going to let him hurt me. Graham got up to get the whistling kettle. I wiped the sweat off my face and tried to slow my breath while she poured the tea. Are you still with me? I asked. Sure, dear. The awful boyfriend. I hope you broke up with him. I studied the clock on the wall. The 10 minutes that had passed seemed like an eternity. Well, not quite. So there was this other time. It was summer and it was hot. We'd driven out to this park. We were fighting about something, and he got really mad and he tried to grab me, and I remembered that slap. I remembered what I'd promised myself, and I pushed him. It wasn't like I pushed him that hard. We'd been drinking and he lost his balance and he fell and he hit his head on something and there was blood. He was unconscious. I ran for, for half an hour or 40 minutes. I ran all the way home. And I snuck into the apartment all quiet so as not to wake my roommate. and I went to my room and never told anybody. Graham was quiet. She was leaning forward, eyes closed. I don't know what else to say, Graham. I didn't call for help. I found out later that he died. It was an accident, but, maybe I could have saved him. And I don't know if there was an investigation. Some people knew that we were seeing each other, but nobody asked me anything. I'm sorry, Graham. I took a sip of my tea, but my throat was so tight I choked. She opened her eyes. I examined her expression, trying to know whether she had even heard it all. Graham? She looked at me. I don't know, dear. Seems like a terrible thing. Is there somebody you can tell? I'm telling you, Graham. I need to be able to sleep. You've got to promise me you won't repeat this to anyone. She nodded and smiled. We drank our tea. As I grabbed my jacket to leave, she patted my shoulder. Darling, was there something you wanted to tell me? I drove home with the window down, clearing my head. I went to bed early, and I slept. Those nightmares I had, they were always about that push, about the smell of liquor on his breath, and the warm night, and the buzzing in the trees, and that push. Only in my dreams, he'd fall back, and the earth wouldn't be there. And he'd just be falling through the sky and falling, and I'd be crying and calling him. So I had that dream again after I told Graham. But this time it was different. This time he floated to the ground, and he stood up, and he walked away.
Thank you. Our next reader is Rachel Zemek, and Rachel taught a deaf class in public school. She writes about this joyful, comedic, and often shocking career and its lessons. Readers get to peek into the poignant, passionate, and stunning deaf world. Urgent language and identity issues are explored through a variety of individual students. The Deaf are calling her book an absolute must-read for all.
Too short. Okay, thank you. So I'm deaf, but I became deaf when I was 10, so that's why I speak.
Go right into the mic.
My head is here.
You're good, you're okay.
Okay. I was heading inside to get work done before school started when 7-year-old Laszlo Hidalgo waved frantically from across the large concrete schoolyard and then ran in a thundering beeline to where I stood. Arms flailing, shirt flapping, and backpack straps flipping, he looked like a demented bird boy. I was slightly alarmed, but that early in the morning, I tend to be both groggy and optimistic. Besides, it was my second year of teaching, and by then it was clear that things at this job were rarely what they seemed. Rachel, Rachel! Laszlo made a chaotic rendition of my name sign as he ran, and stopped just short of crashing into me. I scanned his affable face and soft brown eyes, trying to gauge the crisis level there. His eyes shimmered with urgency, but they weren't unhappy. Perhaps he had some huge good news to tell me. Good morning, what's up? I asked. What's up? The realization pinged in me that I hadn't yet taught my class the sign for what's up. It's a perky sign with a vibe all of its own. One flicks their hand sharply up from the chest, while the head jerks backwards with a questioning expression. Even the kindergartners would relish it. I decided to throw it into the mix at Circle that morning. When it came to my students and language, nothing was wasted on them. They were deaf, and their parents had not learned sign language. As a result, they were hungry for language. They devoured new signs as if they were desert island refugees and the signs were water. Rachel, how do you say this? How do you say it in ASL? ASL is short for American Sign Language. What's the sign for it? You show me. And then, how do you say it in English? Laszlo pushed a paper close to my face, a tinge of wildness in his eyes now. Then, I want to know the Spanish for it. You'll tell me, okay, Rachel? Okay? His words, signs, accompanied by bits and pieces of halting speech, tumbled out of him like dogs cooped up too long in a van. Laszlo's finger was hovering over a tiny image of Pikachu. That's a toy. It's a Pokemon toy named Pikachu. I signed to him, fingerspelling. I don't know if there's a sign in ASL for that, I'm sorry. There wasn't anyone at my job whom I could ask. This California public school had just 2 classes for deaf students, and I was the only teacher there who was deaf. The empowering, elucidating gifts of ASL and deaf culture were as elusive there as grains of gold in sand. Okay, so what about English? How do I say it? Pikachu, I said, tapping one finger for each syllable I spoke. Okay, Pikachu, Laszlo said. He had hearing aids on that day. Now what about Spanish? Huh? Spanish, Rachel. I'll ask my husband later today. I'll write a note. At this, he roared. Ah, what's that mean? A note, a note, Laszlo said ravenously. It means I'll get a paper and I'll write the word down. When I get home, I'll see the note and I'll remember to ask my husband, okay? He stared as if I told him I knew where the treasure was hidden. I turned to look at the clock on the school building behind us. I had a lot to do in my room before school started. That's a clock, I said, following Laszlo's eyes, signing and voicing it. A clock! A clock! He exclaimed, his tongue forming the words slowly with relish. I'm checking the time because I need to go inside. You'll check! He asked excitedly. I began to gather my bag. But Rachel, wait! What is check? And how do you say them, clock and check in Spanish? If you don't know, you'll write a note for your husband. Okay? You'll write a note. Yes, I will, I promise. But I have to go inside now. Go on, boy, move. I made a mock, exasperated face and shook my head at him, gesticulating like an angry Italian. At this, Laszlo knew he couldn't squeeze any more vocabulary out of me, at least not until 8 minutes later when class had begun.
Wow. Okay, the next reader is Melissa Geisinger, a neurodivergent optimist. Melissa Geisinger is, I keep forgetting my eyes, hold on, is predisposed to following her dreams as well as every shiny side quest along the way. She lives in Santa Rosa with her partner, her 6-year-old heart warrior son, and a menagerie of fur kids. She enjoys the outdoors, soaking up knowledge, and connecting with other passionate creators. Here's Melissa.
Let's take a trip back to 1906 in San Francisco. This is chapter 5 from my book, Nothing Left But Dust, a YA historical fiction. 6th Street and Bryant, Wednesday, April 18th, 1906, 5:12 a.m. It rolled in from the southwest like a stampede of wild horses, striking with such intensity and purpose. It was as if the earth were a beast caged for an eternity that had just broken free. It was barbarous and bloodthirsty and had no remorse to speak of. Jo's bed jolted and tossed her into the air like a rag doll. She awoke believing she was dreaming of being on a ship in a storm. The walls around her rattled, expelling dust from the cracks, and caused everything contained within them to shake. She reached her arms out to steady herself but lost her balance, bouncing in her bed like a fish in a frying pan. She coughed as the force pitched her side to side and slammed her to the floor. This is no dream. This is an earthquake. The end of days. Surely it will be lights out at any moment. A momentary lull allowed Jo to pull up to her knees. Still, her debilitating horror became a morbid fascination as she moved toward the open window, catapulting herself over splintered furniture. She clutched the windowsill with rigid fingers and took a deep breath of dust-free air. Perhaps the shaking is winding down, or then, as if a creature had also drawn a great breath, the second wind of the quake struck with a more brutal and violent vengeance. Jo listened as the rattling of dishes, crackling of timber, and smashing of glass harmonized in wild cacophony until it surged into an opera of utter cataclysm. Peering out the window, Jo could see the green light of dawn illuminating a staggering scene. She watched in horror as the entire row of wooden buildings across the street swung sideways, houses folding like a deck of cards. Her house, the one she had shared with Papa, Mama, and baby Peter, gone in an instant. It would only be a matter of time before her uncle's house toppled. Instinct told her that the street would be the safest place to be. She looked down. Maybe she could jump out the window. Before she could convince her arms to latch onto the frame and pull herself up, another massive jolt released a plume of dust that mushroomed upward, causing her to retreat into the room. Jo coughed as she headed for the door, staggering on the uneven floorboards and stepping on a piece of broken glass from the teacup. She threw herself onto the bed and did her best to remove the glass. Blood covered her foot, but Jo fought against the shaking and slid into her boots without bothering to lace them. Then, about to head back toward the window, Jo remembered something. Her pearl. She had to get it. She grabbed a hold of the doorknob, but it didn't budge. She forgot her uncle had locked it. She threw herself against the door once, twice, 3 times. She took 3 steps back and screamed as she ran and struck the door a 4th time, breaking through the wood and falling to the floor. The door to the office was closed. She grabbed a hold of that knob to lift herself off the ground. She twisted and pushed, but it didn't open. It wasn't the lock. The frame had warped so badly that the door wouldn't budge. Jo fought to free it, but then, with a howl and a whirl, the quake reached its poignant climax. A violent twist, and the floor from underneath Jo's feet dropped once, then twice. Crack. Still clutching the door handle, Jo felt a sudden push as debris piled on top of her and forced her to the ground. The darkness took hold, and all went silent.
I am just loving this. This is amazing. You all are doing a beautiful job with your readings. Our next reader is Marty Nealon, and Marty writes speculative and literary fiction. His short story collection, Grandmother's Devil and Other Tempting Tales, was a finalist in the 2021 Next Generation Indie Book Awards and the 2022 North Street Book Prize. Transit is his debut novel. He serves on the board of the Napa Valley Writers and is a member of the Benicia Literary Arts. Marty, come on up. There you are.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Marty Malin. Thanks for coming out, and special thanks, lots of thanks to Chrissy and Judy for putting this thing together. It's an enormous amount of work that they put into the event, and I really appreciate it. The novel is called Transit, A Journey of Transfiguration. The transit promised by the title is physical, emotional, and spiritual. The book is a whodunit in which you know from the outset exactly who the murderer is and how the deed was done. Part adventure, part magical realism, part coming of age, part love story. Transit defies genre as it twists and turns like the mighty Amazon River itself to a resolution deep in the Peruvian, Brazilian rainforest. With her husband well and truly murdered, Dr. Jessamine Quilter, who is the protagonist of our story, and an emergency physician who kills her husband in cold blood to get out of an abusive marriage. She gets away clean. Nobody will ever know what she did. So Dr. Quilter embarks on a lengthy ocean journey of self-discovery aboard a container ship, the MV Andaman Pearl, sailing from Yokohama to Rotterdam via the Suez Canal, but of course she doesn't make it that far. Her journey of transfiguration is both literal and figurative and encompasses many sub-transits, from port city to exotic port city with their many cuisines, cultures, and beliefs, from trust to betrayal, including a kidnapping by terrorist mercenaries off the Somali coast, and her growing understanding that her crime has destroyed the balance of the cosmos. She must atone and restore that balance or face annihilation at the hands of the guardians of the cosmos, Grandmother Aya, an Anaconda woman. Jessamine Quilter's final transit is a grueling journey towards rebirth. Indigenous people and supernatural characters surround her. Jinn, witches and cannibals, dream cats, teacher trees, pink dolphins, and a pair of protective jaguars who pay no attention to time or physical space. And of course, there's some sex to brighten things up. Because what else would you expect, given a protagonist whose marriage has been a disaster, a ship full of sailors, and passengers with too much time on their hands? So here's just a taste of transit from the opening chapter. Once I decided to kill him, it was just a matter of the details. I'm very good at details. As a physician, it's important to get the details right, and I do. I always do. I don't think of my husband's death as a big deal. It's the right solution to my problem. I rub shoulders with death every day, so tomorrow night, at bedtime, I'll kill him. He will be dead, disposed of, and soon forgotten. And I'll have a crack at a new life, and nobody will ever suspect what I did. So thanks for the opportunity to introduce you to my new baby. And my growing connection of imaginary friends. Now, if you think transit is one of those ugly babies you've heard about, maybe the ugliest baby you've ever come across, that is, if you don't think this is the most wonderful, over-the-top, terrific, simply brilliant novel you've ever read, you could say something like, yikes, what an ugly baby. Or perhaps you could say, wow, don't you just love those pudgy little thighs? Or if all else fails, gosh, she sure looks a lot like you. Thanks for being here today, and I'm looking forward to talking with all of you back at the tables and learning about your writing and talking a little bit more about mine.
Our next reader is Richard Rachlin, and I hope I said that correctly. Richard Rachlin. Writing his debut novel, Conspiracy of Lies, makes for his third career, after that of a trial lawyer and college professor. He obviously has a hard time keeping a job. Conspiracy of Lies was awarded first place at the San Diego Writers' Conference in the genre of mysteries and thrillers. So, Richard?
Thank you. Good morning and St. Patrick's Day. Happy to all of you. And my name is Richard Rachlin, and I wrote my courtroom drama, and I'll be reading from chapter 6 of Conspiracy of Lies. After 4 straight days of nothing but rain, the afternoon sun finally peeked through white cirrus clouds as Jake rode his 97 pearl white Harley Davidson through the checkerboard streets of downtown, reveling in the throaty rumble of its dual pipes, pounding like a Led Zeppelin classic in his ears. Lenny's instincts were dead on, as usual. Criminal law was the way to go. There was no stopping Jake now. Veering south onto I-95, Jake cruised by the luxury high-rise condos lining Brickell Avenue before passing the open secret of Coconut Grove's homeless, begging for spare change and rummaging through half-filled cans of garbage. To avoid rush hour traffic, Jake pulled off US 1 at Lejeune Avenue and made a beeline for his favorite flower shop in South Miami. He knew fresh roses would be just the thing, and the likelihood that Elena had already heard from Marilyn about the beating he took at poker last night. As he entered the shop, Jake spotted the special, a dozen yellow roses for $34.99. He turned to the noise of loud shuffling behind him. Several bikers sauntered in wearing faded jeans, wide buckled belts, and heavy boots. The minimum gray-haired saleswoman fidgeted behind the counter as if she feared being robbed. Jake handed her the roses, then reached into his pocket and realized his cash was gone. He cursed himself once more for the beatdown he took and pulled out his credit card, passing it to the woman. He glanced over his shoulder. A huge black biker at 6'4", a couple of inches taller than Jake, smiled back at him. The biker must have weighed a good 230 pounds of solid muscle. On a massive bicep displayed a bright red and white and blue tattoo that read, "Vets for Peace." Behind him stood several of his buddies, trying their best to act inconspicuous. Jake turned back to the saleswoman, her brow completely furrowed. She spoke to him through clenched teeth. "I'm sorry, sir, but your charge didn't go through." "That's impossible," Jake said, feeling the humiliation coursed through his veins. He recently charged the usual meds for Drew, but that couldn't have maxed out his limit. "I tried twice, but both times it came back declined. Master Charge instructed that I cut up your card," she said in a voice louder than necessary. Jake glanced over the roses. No way could he leave without them. "You must be new. Is Kevin here? The owner? I've been coming here for years, and I'm sure he'd let me have till morning to pay the $35. She vigorously shook her head. "He's on vacation, and it's $34.99 plus tax." She vigorously shook her, "Hey dude, maybe I could lend a hand," said the smiling biker at his back. His thick beard framed large friendly eyes. Jake pivoted toward him. "Thanks, but I got it covered," he answered, mostly out of pride. "No disrespect, but I'm getting a kick watching you go back and forth with the little lady," he said, gesturing to the saleswoman. "Is that your fat boy outside?" Jake nodded. "Killer paint job, 97, right? You got a good eye." "I should. I work on them all day. Got a small shop, Diesel's Hogs, across from Deadland Mall. I'm Diesel." "Jake Dalton," he shook the outstretched hand. "For the missus?" Diesel shifted his gaze to the roses on the counter. Jake eked out a smile. "Trying to dig my way out of the doghouse." Diesel laughed hard, a bellowing sound that seemed to shake the shop. "Dude, we've all been there." His buddies chuckled in agreement. Diesel reached into his pocket, pulled out 2 20s and tossed them on the counter. He peered at the saleswoman. This should take care of the roses and a fat tip for the state of Florida. I don't know what to say. Jake couldn't believe a total stranger would do this. Give me your address so I can mail you a check. Forget it. Tell your friends, just tell your friends to stop by my shop when they're neat honest work. I got a better idea. Jake pulled out his business card from his wallet and handed it to Diesel. If you ever find yourself in a jam, I'll take care of it, gratis. It's the least I can do. Without looking at the saleswoman, Jake grabbed the roses off the counter and tucked them under his arm to leave. Diesel studied the card. I'll be a son of a bitch, he said, holding it toward his buddies. Board certified civil trial lawyer. Hey guys, can you believe this? A flat broke ambulance chaser buying flowers for his babe on a hog, no less. He gave Jake a broad smile and slapped him on the shoulder. You're all right, counselor. Don't run into many of your kind around town. Hope to be seeing you again.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's one.
It's okay, there's
Oh,
one up there.
there's one up here.
There's one in my hand.
Sorry. I just stole our author list here. Our next speaker is John McCarty. And John Michael McCarty, I bet he would like that hat, is a fourth generation San Franciscan and a retired educator, having taught California history on both the secondary and graduate levels. John has also received numerous national awards for his historical fiction. He lives with his wife Patricia along the lower reaches of the Russian River in rural Sonoma County.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is John McCarty, and I am the author of Journey to Duncan's Mills, which is the third consecutive novel of mine that has received at least one national award. It was a 5-star finalist for Book of the Year 2023. It was also a notable winner for Best Indie Book of last year. Journey to Duncan's Mills is a work of historical fiction. And the definition of historical fiction is a story that evolves around true events and/or characters and dates back at least 50 years in time. The adventures of Alexander Duncan begin at his birthplace in Strabane, Northern Ireland, continues across the Atlantic, across the Isthmus of Panama, to the wild and woolly frontier of rural Sonoma County. While it is a story of the beginnings of lumber mills in the area, it is much more than that. And while it is a story of the shipping and sailing hazards along our rugged coast, it is much more than that. It's about a man who hired the first African American along the lower reaches of the Russian River, about a man who employed the first Chinese for the lumber camps. These actions would put Alexander Duncan in the crosshairs of Thomas Thompson, editor and owner of the Sonoma Democrat, the forerunner of today's Press Democrat. Thomas Thompson was a racist and a bigot, having used the N-word some 355 times in his editorials. He was a sponsor of the Confederacy, and he was a pro-slaver. He was also a backer for the Knights of the Golden Circle, a militia group 16,000 strong who attempted to waylay Abraham Lincoln, storm the Capitol, and put their own man into the White House. Sound familiar? Later, Thomas Thompson would be instrumental in the formulation of the first anti-Chinese leagues in the area. All would come into a head when the league raids Duncan's Mills in April of 1886. I'd like to read for you a short passage from chapter 1 where Alexander Duncan is saying goodbye to his father for the last time. His name is Samuel. The place, Londonderry. The date, 1840. A swarm of bar-tailed godwits swirled over the brick structure of William McCorkle and Company, where a queue of defeated-looking people stretched from the ticket office and disappeared around the corner. Mismatched patches scarred outfits while twine secured valises. The corners of Alex's mouth sagged with the reality that he was soon to become one of them. And these were the lucky few, those who were able to fetch a passage out of hell. Samuel Duncan brought the cart to a halt, alighted, and tied the reins to a hitching post. He turned to his son, who stationed himself beside the jaunty with suitcase in hand. "No doubt there'd be plenty of shites waiting for your Scottish arse," the father said as he took a step closer. "And don't be a lick. Stand up for yourself." "You hear me, son?" "I do, Father," Alex said. "And while we're on the subject of life lessons, make sure my younger brother earns his keep. I appreciate the concern you be dishing out, but your mom and I have been through this before." The old man picked a wad of bills from his coat pocket, along with a watch, and extended the batch to his son. Alex Duncan opened the casing and studied a photo of his mom and dad before gazing at the gift of cash, shaking his head. "You need this more than I do." And he pushed the offer away. "It'd be your inheritance," Samuel Duncan said, and returned the currency to his son's hand. "And remember, lad, if you look after the pennies, the pounds will take care of themselves." During their final embrace, Alex secreted the money back into his father's waistcoat. The gold watch he would be kept as a remembrance of all that once was. Alex made his way to the vessel's deck and turned for one last farewell, but his father was not there. Journey to Duncan's Mills is a tale about the hell that once was, about a past that still is. And I thank you for your attention.
Okay, this is our final reader for this segment. Before we break, there will be more readers after the break, and I'll have Judy dismiss us after this. So please don't get up and run. Our next reader is Marie Judson. Marie Judson is a school teacher on the wild coast of Northern California. Language and the mind are her passions. An ardent fantasy reader since childhood, she also loves singing, dream work, and crashing waves. Follow her blog at mariejudson.com. Here's Marie.
Yay! Well, thank you for being here. I'm Marie Judson, and I'm
Say to the microphone, please.
Yeah, it's directional. Yeah.
I'm Marie Judson. Is that better?
Just closer, a little bit closer.
You can move it.
You can adjust the microphone up and down.
I'm Marie Judson. I'm still Marie Judson. I'll be reading from the first of my second series of fantasy books, Elfstone of the Nana.
Might want to speak up just a little bit.
Chapter 1. Yonda's world flooded into confusion as a voice thrummed inside her head. Glancing around at her surgery team, she carefully set down her scalpel. With a shaky smile, she said, "I'm going to rest in my office." Magali, fellow surgeon, touched her shoulder. "Yeah, that was intense. Great job." A swarm of bees in Yonda's head distanced her from those around her, and she hurried away. Zamani, leader of the Nana elves, reached out with his mind as he had so often, adding his energy to the great stone's call for help to draw its pieces back together. Blasted apart by greedy colonists and scattered, sold or added to collections across the universe. The great stone of the Nana had powered their beautiful forest home for centuries, adding not only life-sustaining magic, but a loving emanation that held their community together. Inside her office, Yonda locked the door and flung herself on the couch. A moment later, though, she rose, drawn by that unknown force. Unable to fight it or think for herself, she pulled her satchel from a drawer, changed to her street clothes, locked the door, and hurried down the hall. Searching the empty corridor to make sure she was not followed, she stepped into the lift and punched in the sublevel that connected to the spaceport by underground tube. The swarm grew louder in her head. Now, one clear thought came through: book passage on the Lark. In a trance, Yonda's feet took her along the bright tiled corridors, flickering with messages and images. Her mind was not her own as she navigated a maze of booth walks and arrived at a counter announcing the imminent departure of a spaceship called the Lark. She showed her ID and was waved through. No questions, no payment. No payment? She wondered with what slight brain power remained to her, but she could not think clearly. It's covered. That should bother me. The dim thought left her insides roiling. Robotic attendants brought her to a private cabin with a stasis bed. She felt a pinch in her neck and knew nothing more. Coming to, Yonda felt nauseous. Raising her hands to rub blurry eyes, she realized she was shackled, wrists and ankles. A metal band circled her neck. Panic surged as she realized her ability to see through walls was gone, making her feel smothered. Two beings with the Lark insignia entered her room. Roughly, they escorted her out of the compartment and maneuvered her down halls. She protested, "What's happening? Where are my things?" "Keep moving," was all they said in the universal lingot. In a dome, an air car waited, door open. The bots pushed her inside and strapped her. With a low whirring, the car moved into a tube. Through clear panels, she glimpsed two moons, pink and tangerine. Night? Or just a bleak side of a moon that never faced light? Inside another dome, the transport stopped and lowered among similar shuttles. The door shifted open, and gloved hands locked on her arms, pulling her out. Yonda heard only a low hum and the rustle of the mask-faced guards' clothing as they entered a dimly lit hall. Along both sides, caged humans and human-like beings watched her from cells. She counted 9. Pushing her into a cell at the end, the guards left. A tall, thin creature, Yonda thought female, peered through the bars from the cell across from hers. In the low lighting, she made out what appeared to be feathered skin on a bird-like face. "What name have you?" the bird woman asked. A Jajad, Yonda thought. She'd only heard of them in tales.
This is exciting, and I know you all need a little bit of a break. We're going to take a 20-minute break. So right now, the clock is right at noon. So at 12:20, we want your butt skis back in the seats. So go have a bit of a mingle, and there's food in the back. The bathrooms are down the hall to your, that's to your right. And I'll see you in 20 minutes for the second half.
We're good to go.
I am.
No, I know.
I know, Sean, you do not need to direct me. Thank you very much. I appreciate the energy, however. Our next author is our own VP, web editor, former newsletter editor, and a few other things which I'll tell you about. Chrissy Langwell is the author of 15 books now, isn't it? Because you're working on one.
It's 15 this year.
15 books this year, as of this year, and Chrissy writes stories from the heart with genres that include romance, women's fiction, magical realism, and young adult. Masquerade Mistake is her 13th book. Chrissy currently serves as Vice President and Web Editor of Redwood Writers and is the most recent recipient of the Helen S. Barnhart and Jack London Awards.
All right. Thank you, guys. You know what? Being up here and talking about everybody else's books is so easy, but then once I get about my book, I'm like, don't look at me. So I am reading from Masquerade Mistake. This is the first book in my Sunset Bay series. It's a steamy romance. So if anyone's into steamy romance, ask Susan about that. So she's read it. She already told me that she found the steam. So I just want to note the characters. I'm reading from chapter 11, so we're a little bit into the story. The characters are Claire, who's the main character, the love interest, who is Ethan, and they met a long time ago at a masquerade. She realizes who he is. He has no idea who she is, or that he's already a father. So I'm going to start from their first date. Ethan finds a parking spot near downtown, and we walk the rest of the way to Chicago Dogs. I'd suggested it as a joke because I didn't want Ethan to go broke over our second date. But the other part is that I really love these hot dogs. Every now and then, I skip making dinner for Finn, and we'll walk to the park for a hot dog. Then we sit at the fountain, letting our feet dangle in the water while we eat. Okay. I have an idea, Ethan says, pulling me aside before we reach the hot dog cart. But it's a dangerous one. Are you game? It depends, I say. How about I put the toppings on your hot dog any way I like, and you do the same for me? No. He looks genuinely shocked at my answer. You're not even going to humor me? No. You have no idea how seriously I take food, especially food I love. He laughs as if I'm joking, but I shake my head. I'm not kidding. I'm not adventurous when it comes to food. If I know I like something, I will eat it that way forever. I don't eat different things off the menu. There's just too high of a risk that I'll order something I don't like, and then I'll be stuck paying for something I won't eat. You can send it back if you don't like it, he says. People do it all the time. I know, but then I have to wait for them to remake my food, or worse, offend the waiter. That's literally their job, Claire. You're not going to offend the waiter. I stare at him, knowing he's right, but determined to stand my ground on this one. I know what I like, and there's no need to order differently. But these are just hot dogs, he's protesting. And I love hot dogs, and I like them my way. He pauses, apparently deep in thought. Okay, I have an idea. I start to shake my head, but he holds his hands up to stop me. Just hear me out. We order 2 hot dogs. You make one the way you like it, and the other the way you think I'll like it. You keep the one you made for yourself, but you trade the other one for the one I've made for you. I sigh, not sure I like it, but not hating the idea either. If it's no good, I'll take it back, he continues. I'll even buy you another. What do you say? I guess. I try to sound as doubtful as possible, but it's not enough to keep him from rushing the cart and ordering our hot dogs. Once he does, he gives me 2 naked dogs. I'll go stand over there while you dress these. When you're done, I'll come back and have the guy dress mine. I roll my eyes. You better not peek, I say. As much as I hate this whole idea, I have to admit it's kind of fun. Once he's a safe distance away, I get to work. On mine, I put just ketchup, nothing else. I'm a purist and don't like much to get in the way of my hot dog and me. But for Ethan, I have a feeling he's more adventurous with his food. I lean over and look at what my options are. I want to add some of everything, but I feel like that's cheating. So I skip the ketchup on his and add mustard, bacon, sauerkraut, and green onions. I'm not certain about it, but it seems like something he'd like. Once the hot dogs are fully dressed, I walk in the opposite direction, holding the hot dogs out of Ethan's view as he approaches the cart with his 2 undressed dogs. I try not to look as he gets them ready, even though I'm super curious. Then I laugh as he walks backwards in my direction so I can't see what the hot dogs look like. On 3, he says. I'm giggling as I count down with him. When we say 3, he turns around and we both present the other with our dogs. And when I see the dog he presents me, I'm floored. It's cheese and relish with bacon bits, nothing else. Just the way Finn likes it. Not even close, he says with a laugh as he takes my hot dog, then wrinkles his nose as he sniffs the sauerkraut. I guess you're not a fan of fermented food, I say with a laugh, but I'm still in shock over the hot dog he handed me. I've never had it, Ethan admits. After a moment of hesitation, he takes a bite. His face relaxes as he chews. Not bad. He takes another bite and then nods at the one in my hand. I notice that the other one he's holding looks exactly the same as the one he gave me. You made my hot dog the way you like it, I take it? I try to sound nonchalant, but inside I'm all over the map. If Ethan and Finn have never met, how can they have so many similarities? This has to be a sign. I know, not super original, but it really is the best way to eat a hot dog. I disagree, I say, holding up the dog he made for me, then making a show of scraping off the relish. Now it's perfect. I bite into it, and it brings me back to being here with Finn, eating the rest of his hot dog when he got bored of eating and wanted to run around. Even with the essence of pickles all over it, it's pretty tasty. You did good, I say, mouthful of food. I swallow. Better than I did, at least. You must have me all figured out. Not completely. He nudges my knee with his, but the second part of our date could help with that. And now, our next reader is Barbara Cottrell. Barbara Cottrell is a former professor who gave up her career to write weird fiction. The first book in her series, Darkness Below, was released in March 2023 to critical acclaim. It was chosen as an editor's pick by Book Life and received a silver medal from Reader's Favorite and a gold medal from the Book Fest. All right, Barbara.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Barbara Cottrell, and I am the author of Darkness Below, and I'm going to be reading a scene that forms the heart of the story. So it starts off with a mystery. Moat B was one of the many New Age bookstores that clung to Miskatonic like barnacles to a ship. The university didn't endorse these stores, but they didn't discourage them either. The shops provided a smokescreen, a way for the public to indulge their curiosity of Miskatonic without bothering the university. Ellen worked part-time at Moat B. She kept it stocked with incense, crystals, and books. She was also the store's resident psychic. She didn't mind the job, except for the dress code. The owner insisted she wear long, sweeping dresses, a mixture of velvet and lace that screamed fairy tale princess or earth goddess. She supposed that was the connection Norm wanted people to make. Ellen hated it. The getup made her feel ridiculous. "Excuse me," a small hand tugged at her dress. She turned and saw a young girl with a backpack. Her face was solemn, intent. A man in a suit and tie hovered behind her. "What can I do for you?" Ellen asked. The girl pointed at the owner. "That man said you could help me." Ellen looked at Norm. He didn't normally let her work with children, but he gave her a nod of approval. I'd certainly like to try, she said. I've been having these, don't say anything else, advised the man behind her. But the girl spluttered. She looked at her companion in a way that made Ellen's heart ache. Ellen was 20 years old, but she was close enough to remember the powerlessness of childhood. Ellen glanced at the man. Uncle, he offered. Your uncle is right. It's better if I don't know anything about you. Except your name. I'm Ellen. She offered her hand. The little girl hesitated. Then she carefully shook it. I'm Lindsay. Nice to meet you, Lindsay. Ellen didn't bother to ask the uncle his name. Hostility rose off him like heat from a freshly tarred road. She stood and waved the girl to a back room. Why don't we go somewhere where we can talk? The last thing she wanted was to take them to the consulting room, but it was the only private place in the store. Behind a thickly beaded curtain and packed with the usual occult cliches, the consultation area was everything this man feared. As she led them inside, she felt a suspicion rise even more. The tarot cards on the table only made things worse. They were from an adult deck. Ellen swept them aside before Lindsay noticed them. Don't you need all that? The girl asked. Some people need them, I don't, she replied. She arranged the chairs in a semicircle and motioned them to sit. So Lindsay, how much do you know about what I do? Mary says you get pictures in your head, pictures that people send you. She told me you can talk to the living and the dead. Ellen glanced at the uncle. Mary? Her older sister, he offered, in a voice that made it clear Mary was in trouble. Is it true that you speak to the dead, the girl demanded. Sometimes. Aren't you afraid of them? They're just people, maybe a little sadder, but they're still just people. Lindsay bit her lip, clutching her backpack like a shield. Ellen leaned forward. What is it? Why are you here? I think I'm having someone else's dream, a dead person's dream. Ellen held out her hand. The girl looked at them anxiously. This is the way I see, Lindsay. Lindsay latched onto Ellen's hands. The world plunged into darkness. Lindsay's hands were still there, but they jutted out of a dirt wall. Ellen looked around at a deep, dark, damp world. Somewhere in the distance, a light flickered, its glow strong enough to illuminate the walls. Men. Everywhere she looked, she saw men. Ellen's eyes swept the walls, over the bodies trapped in the earth. Most of them were dead, but some of them reached for her, their fingers rasping against the fabric of her shirt. The earth lurched under her feet. She heard a sharp crack, followed by a roar of thunder. Earthquake, someone yelled. Ellen blinked. The world was suddenly, painfully bright. Thank you.
Well, it disappeared somewhere. Sorry about that. Okay. Our next reader is Richard Boyd. Richard is a retired physics professor. I'm getting a trend here. And his interests with publications over 250 in nuclear physics, astrophysics, and astrobiology. He's written 3 scientific books dealing with nuclear, astrophysics, and astrobiology. Recently, he's been writing novels on a variety of topics, most recently on artificial intelligence. Richard.
What I generally try to do.
Oh, bring it up to your mouth. Yeah.
What I generally try to do is write books that have a science bent to them, but that can be pretty boring. So I try to wrap that in an interesting story. First, some background on my book today. The title is Souls, AI, Computers, and the Future of Humankind. So in this book, I assume the possibility of soul-body separation, reincarnation, and past life experiences. Those may sound a little weird for a physicist, but I learned something doing this anyway. The computer is named Sunshine. It has exceeded humans in virtually every aspect. He and Rosebud, a counterpart AI computer, were given hardwired ethical rules by their creators. Since their creation, the two computers have taken over every aspect of earthly life in which they're interested and told humans what they can and can't do with the rest. But the managers of the world of souls decided that the computer's ethical systems were inadequate, so they decided to assign souls to them. Also to their several thousand robots, which they concluded were as deserving of souls as human beings. Since there are gazillions of souls floating around the universe, either committed or awaiting reincarnation, management of the soul world is a huge enterprise. So the book deals a bit with that and how the soul world readers handle that. So now reading from the book. Sunshine needed some certainty. Soul of mine, how am I going to resolve this? The interactions between my electromechanical ethics system and you, my soul, are complicating my decisions in a way humans haven't had to face. They never had to negotiate with their soul, since their brains aren't decoupled from their souls while they're alive. Sunshine, I agree this is an unprecedented situation, although perhaps you're not as unique as you think. You don't seem to understand how the extremes of human characteristics can affect their interactions with their souls. I've never had to negotiate with any of the humans I've inhabited previously, but that's not true for all souls, since humans often arrive with some personalized set of structured and chemical predispositions. In such cases, the soul may end up having to bend to some aspect of those ethics, or rather lack thereof, since it may not be possible to completely overrule the unwanted features. The soul continued, since I never inhabited a body with the nasty characteristics to which I allude, I was spared dealing with contentious issues. I should note, though, that I've often had to deal with society's rules. Those were occasionally in conflict with my basic ethics, and they did sometimes impose interesting nuances. I see you as having a system of ethics defined by your creators, and it has little flexibility for new situations. Actually, that's not quite true, Sunshine, since you and Rosebud have had no problem modifying those rules to fit your wishes, but not necessarily your needs. You didn't need to pursue the directions you chose. In any event, I regard the ethics I impose on you as being much more general for resolving the program ones you received at your creation. Sunshine objects. Wait a minute, I can see where this is going, but I'm in charge here, so I decide what must rule. We'll see about that, Sunshine. The souls of your robots are already second-guessing you, and I don't see that diminishing in the future. You may try to ignore me, but the souls in your robots are something you can't ignore. They have power, and they're obviously willing to yield it. After a pause, the soul continues, I'm sensing your robots and I could make a strong team. Oh, my aching central processor.
Okay, our next reader is Laurel Patterson. Laurel Patterson writes about challenging situations children confront in daily life. Emotional intelligence is required from some surprising and engaging sources, creating greater understanding and growth in the child. She retired after teaching high school English for 24 years and receiving the Teacher of the Year award and has been writing ever since. Here's Laurel.
Thank you. Laurel Patterson, and my book is Land of Light. And this is my friend Eileen, who's going to help show the book.
Oh, yeah, you're, Eileen, come a little closer to Laurel. Perfect.
Alina was resting on the beach blanket, an uncharacteristic occupation for such a busy girl. Her mom thought she needed a rest. She thought it was terribly boring. The warm sun on her back felt good, and drowsiness descended upon her. She drifted into a brilliant land of radiant images, overwhelmingly bright. I must be in the land of light, she thought. Indeed, she felt very lightweight. When she looked where her arms should be, there were brightly colored wings, all shimmering in gold and pink and purple. I must be a butterfly. And with that thought, she began to flutter her wings and fly through the translucent clouds. It felt so free to be flying, and very funny to have such small feet and no legs at all. Oh my, but so delicious to glide and soar and look below at the flowers, green grass, sparkling water, and to look above at rainbows. She was delighted to find lots of rainbows in the land of light. Other creatures caught her eye, iridescent dragonflies, fluffy bunnies scampering about below, and huge unicorns flying through the sky. All the creatures smiled at each other. All were friends. And she smiled too. As she smiled, she noticed diamonds, sparkles coming from her mouth and floating into the air. This happened whenever any creature smiled or spoke. Sparkles issued forth, so that everywhere you looked, there were glistening diamonds of... What was it? She wondered. She thought a long time and realized it must be good energy coming from each creature, extending out to everyone else, creating reflections upon reflections of light and good feelings and love. Deciding to test her theory, Alina said something mean to a passing unicorn. No sparkles came out. She quickly called out a friendly greeting, and sure enough, sparkles flooded from her mouth. Oh, she thought, I am creating this beautiful land of light, and so is every other creature here, by spreading good energy. She flew through rainbows, floated on a breeze, explored a colorful flower garden, and to everyone she encountered, she said kind and loving words, thus creating more sparkles. What a wonderful place, she thought. Why can't it be like this at home? With this thought, Alina was drawn away from the land of light. She awoke from her reverie hoping she would still be there. She had the persistent feeling she was being watched. Opening her one eye cautiously, there, looking right at her, was another eye. Quickly, she opened her other eye and realized she was eyeball to eyeball with a sand crab. She laughed, and he scurried off. Although it was very bright, it was not the land of light. She looked over at her younger brother, Oren, and thought, I'll give him some good energy and see if the sparkles come out. This proved a bit challenging for Alina. Although she basically liked him as a brother, it was sometimes hard for her to let go of things between them and simply give him good energy. She thought for a long time what to say, and finally said, Oren, I like having you for a brother. He could be really fun to play with sometimes. But Oren responded pleasantly and invited her to build a sandcastle with him. She thought, oh well, no sparkles, but he must have felt my good energy toward him because he asked me to play with him. Maybe it can be like the land of light right here. She smiled and said, let's build a castle with a moat and turrets and everything. And they did.
Materi Munn Nolan is a PhD, an award-winning author, spiritual teacher, and psychologist. Her work assisting others with inner transformation and spiritual awakening has profoundly influenced many people. Materi Mai's wisdom and teachings garner recognition worldwide, making her a respected voice for those seeking divine connection.
I know, I just adjusted so that you're ready. That's perfect.
Hi, I'm Materi Ma, and I'm reading from my spiritual journey memoir, Into the Heart of the Infinite. And this is a spiritual memoir of an extraordinary mystical journey. And so this takes place really throughout my life, and the reading I'm going to do this morning is from a time in my early teens when it's just a moment in time in the journey of spirit that we're all undertaking. The hill and the cosmos. At the end of our block in Downers Grove was a hill. It was, for that area, a good-sized hill. All the kids sledded down it in the winter. On its apex rested a water tower, which made the hill public property rather than someone's yard. It was a grassy hill, and as it was private, it was a place I could go to be alone. One profoundly moving summer night on this hill stands out clearly in my memory, for it changed my life. It is evening after school. I am in 7th grade and beset by the turmoil and emotional anguish that often occurs from the stress of relating to people world. I wait until it is late in the evening after dark. Then I leave the house and walk up the hill at the end of our street to a grassy area near the old water tower. I find a spot where I can see the stars clearly, and I sit down on the grass, touching it with my hands as I sit back. The grass is cool and dry, not covered in dew, so I lie down on this plush green carpet to gaze up at the night sky. The stars are magnificent, crystal clear and abundant. Looking up, I begin to imagine how far it is to the moon, to the sun, to the stars. I begin to imagine a distance of 1 mile, then of 100 miles, of 1,000, 1,000,000 miles, to envision the vastness of the universe and to feel the beautiful and perfect order of the cosmos. In my mind, I see planets revolving around the sun, a multitude of stars, and unfolding numbers of living beings, all existing in a vast, interwoven, interconnected network of life. I envision solar systems within galaxies of countless stars, woven into the order and peace of this vast universe. Slowly, I begin to envision the molecular and atomic levels as well, seeing the beautiful harmony and order that exists there. My mind's eye perceives the orderly process of subatomic particles circling, each in their energy field, moved by forces in perfect sync with all that is. I realize how the cosmos is a vast and orderly flow from the smallest to the most expansive. That Earth itself, and the natural world are part of this harmony. With this insight, I become aware that the turmoil and chaos I experience in my life only exist as a small spectrum of creation that encompasses human society, the human mind, and my mind. My sense of being a stranger in a strange land, out of place, loses importance. Life is all right because the universe is intact in eternal, peaceful harmony. This realization gives me great comfort. My sense of confusion and chaos of my teen years with this odd world I live in floats away. I am oriented again. I begin to realize that everything that is happening is okay. It doesn't matter how much pain or chaos there is in my life if the universe is as it should be. With a sense of joy, I see that this world is just a small bandwidth in which chaos exists. The rest of the cosmos is in perfect order. There is a deep sense of relief in this realization. With this experience, I begin to make more sense to me. Life begins to make sense and to have context. I think there were many visits to this hill, many nights spent with just me and the stars, the moon, my trees, and of course the mysterious godlike presence that had visited me. The stars and the cosmos, the earth, this ordered, harmonious universe I came to recognize as my mother, and this loving godlike presence as my father. This realization was not simply an idea, it was core for me. I loved the mysterious divine presence I thought of as my father, and found my comfort in him, as well as the universe around me, the trees with their calm, quiet minds, and my animal friends, my divine mother.
Our next reader is Christopher, is it Rattan? I'm butchering everyone's names, and names are a very personal thing, and so I'm so sorry if I do. So, Christopher Rattan. Career experience includes technical writing and wine grape farming. Inspiration for book derives from living in the Philippines, 11 to 13, 1963 to 1965, when memories of Japanese occupation were still fresh in the people's minds. Christopher Rattan has heard numerous stories, and they have been rattling around in his head, requiring an outlet through publication. Here's Christopher.
My book is a historical fiction about a gold miner, Walter Mackay Cushing, who got trapped in the Philippines during World War II on the island of Luzon.
Chris, hold on a second. Stand where you want to stand, and I'm going to put this so you want to speak right into that microphone so we can, so we can hear you.
Okay, on the island of Luzon. And he set the stage for one of the most effective guerrilla resistance movements of World War II. Okay, on December 11th, 1941, approaching the city of Vigan on his return to Abra province, the 34-year-old American gold miner, Walter Mackay Cushing, carried too heavy a weight in his heart, dwelling unable not to on the devastating Japanese bombings. Driving north from the mountain city of Baguio along Coastal Highway 2 to his mine in landlocked Abra province, the despondent Cushing approached the Highway 6 turnoff before Vigan City, his purpose to destroy his life's greatest endeavor, the Rainbow Mine, along with all mine operators in the country following the Japanese bombings of American air bases in the Philippines on December 8th. He had received official orders from the U.S. military: dismantle and destroy all mine equipment and infrastructure to prevent the Japanese from seizing the mines intact and operational. A sick, aching feeling of loss welled up inside him. Unlike the mines in Banquet Province owned by corporations, the Rainbow Mine in Abra, a private venture, had absorbed all his life savings. Cushing winced inwardly, remembering the many hard months prospecting with his partner Maurice Pee Wee Orden, searching and shifting through the alluvial soils among the rivers and hills of Abra for placer gold leading to the source, the mother lode for their mine. After all their sacrifices, and just when the mine was beginning to turn a profit, he now realized with a jolt the Rainbow Mine would not be the proverbial pot of gold its name suggested. Just another dead end in his life, marked only by holes in the ground as dark as his mood. The Japanese invasion had shattered his dreams of opportunity in his adopted land. Nothing could soften the bitterness. Driving up a high bluff, Cushing looked west toward the sea. Stunned as about a sight, he struggled to grasp the sight of a destroyer-sized warship cruising south off the coast, flying the rising sun flag of Japan. At the instant of comprehension, a sour taste of bile rose in his throat. He drove past Highway 6 turnoff to Abra, instead on toward Beacon. Trying to still his premonitions, he stopped on a hilltop overlooking the city. Gunfire and faint screams emanated from the town. Scanning the town through binoculars, his eyes shielded by a tan bucket hat with a turned-down brim, he could see smoke rising, troops in the street, and bodies hanging by nooses from a balcony. As if from hell, a terrifying deja vu flooded his brain. Fucking rape of Nanjing, history repeating itself in the Philippines right before his eyes. The horrifying reports from China had been of wanton killing of Chinese people and violent mass rape of women by unrestrained Japanese soldiers in the Chinese city. As Cushing understood, the animosity between the Japanese and Chinese in the Far East was deep and permanent. Beacon, with its Chinese enclave, now appeared another flashpoint of this ancient animosity. An American in the Philippines since 1933, Cushing had found contentment in his new land of opportunity and a fondness for Filipino people touched by their hospitality. Even after his marriage ended in divorce with his former wife returned to the States, he had stayed on, never imagining the unthinkable unfolding in the desperate town below. His stomach knotted, his face and neck flushed hot. Outrage and anger coursed through him, leaving him feeling utterly impotent as he watched from his hillside observation point. Though not a particularly religious man, he invoked God, imploring the Almighty there had to be a reckoning. He turned the car around and followed the coastal road back south to Highway 6, turnoff to Abra. The road had been clear of the Japanese on his way to Beacon. He hoped his luck held on the remainder of the coastal road, but the hair trigger in his brain was set to fire, the rage roiling within him. As he rounded the corner, a Japanese scout car blocked his path.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, if there's something loose, I'll find it with my feet. Our next reader is Sean Langwell. And Sean is an inspirational author, speaker, and coach who is passionate about helping others dare to take a chance on themselves. He's the author of the memoir Beyond Recovery, A Journey of Grace, Love, and Forgiveness, and the recent release, 10 Seconds of Boldness, the essential guide to solving problems and building confidence.
Hear me now. My name is Sean Langwell, and I'm going to be reading a couple very short chapters because every single chapter in this book, Today's the Day, are short by design. So the quick backstory of putting this book together was I wrote 10 Seconds of Boldness, then I did a workbook from that. And is there anybody in here that kind of wakes up in a great mood every single day? Yeah, 2 hands. I wrote this book because I don't always. I have to be intentional about what it is that I do on a daily basis. And if I go off to the races or wake up with bedhead or I'm already at work and I'm having a bad hair day, which I usually don't because it's easy, but the bottom line is I need something for myself, and I think other people might too, to inspire me throughout my day, because sometimes life happens. And in all honesty, the other day I was so stressed out at work, I didn't get enough sleep, and I'm like this, all the gremlins in my head are building up, and I'm like, what do I do? And I was so mad, so angry, and I literally flipped open this book and opened up to exactly what it is that I needed to read in that moment at that time. That's why I wrote this book. I'm going to read 2 very short chapters. They are entitled Dare to Be Great, Dare to Be You, which coincidentally is also the title of my podcast. There's a method to every single thing that I do in my life. And sometimes I know where I'm going and sometimes I don't. And that's what makes this so exciting and inspirational to me, to some other people, because I literally wrote this book in 45 days. It came from me, through me, and out to me. And I printed it. Chrissy designed the cover. She literally designed the cover in less than half an hour. So there's magic in this book. Here's from, but
Hours.
if you can do it yourself, have fun. Otherwise, hire a professional. That's in 10 Seconds of Boldness, by the way, too. Dare to be great. Do you want to be great at something, or maybe just really, really good? Or at the very least, better today than you were yesterday? If so, keep reading. In the last chapter, we talked about practice. In this one, we dare to be great. What does that mean? Greatness is a state of mastery, of unflinching confidence and expertise for a given skill, state of being, or state of mind. Greatness is accomplished through mastery, of incremental growth from spaced repetition, practice over time. Greatness is a result of commitment, effort, and diligence. Those we consider great are experts in some area of their lives. Experts know because they have done. And I'm going to repeat that. Experts know because they have done. A common character trait of those who are or aspire to be great is a clear and convicting motive, a white-hot why. They are also bold enough to keep going despite internal and external obstacles. Those determined to become great love the chase. They embrace and do not cower when faced with challenges. In fact, they welcome them because they know challenges make them stronger, more decisive, and more confident as they resolve to adapt and overcome. Greatness in any area is attainable for those who dare to achieve it, and who find the courage within to press on in the face of real or perceived limitations and obstacles. Greatness is achieved for those who say, I can, not I can't. Dismiss the fear-filled voices and critics in your head, those that say they can't or that you are not worthy, capable, courageous enough to be great, with this one bold statement. Watch me. This is close to home, and I would imagine some of the conversations I've had over the years in this club, this is something that touches each and every one of us. It's a big problem in this world. This chapter is entitled, Be Yourself, Always. Nobody else is you, so why would you want to be anyone other than who you were created to be? Okay, so maybe you have shortcomings, inadequacies, fears, and 101 excuses about who you think you should be or who you want to be or what you should do with the rest of your life. Those thoughts are normal. And some of those ideas, beliefs may be true, but they may also be holding you back. What do I mean? I believe every single one of us has been born with a specific purpose for our lives. It is our responsibility to ask, seek, and embrace that purpose when we find it. But But when we become so absorbed with negative thoughts about what we are not or what we don't have, we basically lock ourselves into a prison of limitation, never fully realizing our God-given potential and purpose. Today's a great day to grab the keys around your waist, slide them into the cell door, and set yourself free. Be yourself. Not what your parents want you to be, not what your spiritual leader says you should be, not what you think others want you to be, none of that. Just be you. This is a day to take a long walk along a coastal path, to find a meadow teeming with lupine where you can sit in quiet contemplation while casting your gaze beyond the horizon of the sea to a world of possibility, all while asking yourself who you are and who you really want to be. This is a gut check moment. Be honest and open to whatever inspiration the universe plants in your heart, mind, and soul. Then, as a toddler learning to walk, get back on your feet and step onto the path that leads you back to where you are, saying with a smile, I am free to be me. And say it again, louder, I am free to be me. Keep saying it until you feel it pulsating through your flesh and bones. When you arrive there, you will not only believe it to be so, you will also know.
Okay, we have Miss Anna Manwaring. Anna Manwaring's award-winning Jade Ann Stone thriller series is set in Mexico against the backdrop of organized crime, but her Gold Book award-winning, Saints and Skeletons, a memoir of living in Mexico, is the real adventure. Anna produces North Bay Poetics, a free monthly poetry event. You can find her at annamanwaring.com.
Don't go anywhere, because I want to thank you. Congratulate you on your Helen Barnhart. I won it as well. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
12 years ago, I think, or 15, or
You take the mic.
20. Hi, everybody. God, I'm so glad you've come out today and stayed. I see that they've saved the best for last, that's me. And then there's Rod. So, okay.
And there's more after that too.
And I hope everybody will come around and buy a few books and make it all worth it for the people who have books. And when you've got yours, we'll buy yours too. This is number 5, Backlash, of the Jade Ann Stone Mexico Adventures. It is, of course, a thriller, and it's a standalone. It kind of starts a new story. It won the Literary Titan Gold Book Award, and it was shortlisted for the SIBA Clue Award. I didn't make the finalists, but shortlisted is pretty cool. Okay, Chapter 1, The Past is Always With You. Saturday, September 29th, 2007. Jackman Quint hovered outside the TSA checkpoint at the Denver airport. Despondency, a blue funk like tule fog swirling around him. Jade Ann was leaving, going home. He felt his heart cracking open. After he'd finally found his daughter, lost to him before her birth, Jade Ann was flying back to her home in California. He hadn't expected to feel like this. Obscured behind the snaking line of travelers inching through the TSA checkpoint, he watched Jade Ann slip back into her shoes, scoop up her small carry-on, and take her boyfriend's hand. They headed into the wide hall toward the train to Concourse C. Quint tracked them until they were swallowed by the crowds. His eyes stung. He already missed her, even the dog. Would she come back? He shuddered, gulping to stifle his sorrow, then swiped away the visible signs of emotion from his face. Get a grip, soldier. Irritated at acting like a broken-hearted teenager, he exhaled, striding toward the drop-off area in front of Jepson Terminal East. Horacio would be navigating back around the airport loop to pick him up. He couldn't keep his partner waiting anymore, or risk a ticket and police interest. It would be gamble enough driving back to El Paso in the shot-up SUV, and Nader, one of the traffickers, was still in the wind. Anyway, public displays of emotion weren't his thing. The first time he'd lost her, the last time he'd cried, it was either buck up or bitch up. He wouldn't be anybody's bitch. At least Jade Ann and Dylan were safe. He blew his nose on his Starbucks napkin. No, he wasn't going to start blubbering now. He dropped the empty coffee cup with a soiled napkin into a receptacle, then pushed through the revolving door onto the wide sidewalk, crammed with luggage and travelers scurrying to check into their flights. But the question, would she return to their home and business in Mexico City, pecked at his thoughts. Would she? A series of honks startled them back to the airport. A man scooting out of a black SUV, its side riddled with bullet holes, gesturing. Quint! Quint! Aquillo! Quint waved his arm and broke into a jog, shoving his sadness into a dark crevasse of his heart to inspect later. They had a long drive ahead. The sooner they dumped the SUV with his contact on the border, the sooner they could get back to Colonia Roma. Work would take his mind off Jade Ann. Horacio held the shotgun door open. A sudden, sharp crack rang through the departure area, sending Quint diving into the SUV, ducking below the window. Horacio slammed the door behind Quint and stumped around to the driver's side, sliding his ogre's bulk behind the wheel. Thanks, H. What was that? Backfire? Tal vez. Well, they're off. Let's get out of here. Dump this SUV. You okay to drive? He asked, straightening up, nodding toward the makeshift dressing under his partner's shirt, covering the bullet wound from the attack 2 nights before. Only hurts when I laugh, Jefe. He grinned, shifting into drive as the ping of metal on metal rang out. Then another. What the hell? Get down, Jefe, Horacio shouted. He floored the gas pedal, cutting off arriving travelers to honks and shrieking brakes. The vehicle shot into the left through lane and then the curve as the rear window spiderwebbed, but held. H laid on the horn as they blasted away from Denver International to loop onto Pena Boulevard. Quint craned around in his seat. Can't see a damn thing out the rear. Anything chasing us? He peered through the side mirror. The white peaked roofline of DIA, like a giant circus complex, receded into the endless blue sky spread over the prairie. Nothing going as fast as we are, Horacio said. The sniper wasn't in a vehicle, not a moving vehicle. Parking garage? C. His answer slipped into the sibilance of air breaching the cracked glass. Get off the road at the next opportunity. On it, Jefe.
Talk about a cliffhanger there. All right. We are welcoming Rod Morgan, who has an AAS degree in graphic design with a minor in creative writing and journalism. His choice of genre is tales constructed to amuse, entertain, and mystify. Fact and fiction jumbled together in unknown quantities. Short stories, novellas, and poems combine weird evocations of memories, recollections, and fabrications.
Hi, I'm Rod Morgan, and I get to follow all this great stuff. I mean, put a little pressure on me. Anyway, I started off writing short stories of memories that I had, trying to create a visual image, and people kept saying, those kind of sound like poems. So I decided to run it through that prism, and so hopefully I get it. Here's, I've got 3 short ones. The first one is Coastline. The morning mist was full of strangeness and oddness in the air. An albatross unfurled his wings and drifted upward on the current as the gale careened off the headland cliffs. The seafloor quivered, rumbled, and snapped with a lurch. The angry sea rebuked the lunar tug, launched a tsunami that surged and washed the land. The earth shuddered and shook with aftershocks, then rested to wait another 100 years. October hike. The day dawned overcast and gray, an overt call to trek the mountain one last time before the October promise of winter added peril to the journey. The trail meandered through fir, cedar, and redwood giants, autumnal foliage being coaxed into multicolored demise. Small furry creatures scurried about, collecting edibles to store against the winter dearth. Hours were spent attuning my spirit to nature's glories and wonders until the sun abandoned its domain to a lucent moon that played peekaboo with skittering nimbus clouds. Evening dance. We stroll through springtime sun hand in hand, blaze away our woes in the courtyard hammock, observe soft-blowing breezes flutter grapevine leaves, their evening shadows dancing on the white stucco wall, amble along the garden path under an ivied trellis arch, waltz down the shaded lane, dance in the moonlight meadow.
I want to congratulate all of you for standing up, presenting your work, sharing it with us with enthusiasm, and it's such a gift to do that.
And I'm just blown away at the talent we have in this group. I mean, this was just incredible. And Rod, oh my gosh, that was just beautiful. So thank you guys very, very much for doing this. We have announcements now, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but another round of applause for all of us.
We have announcements, and I want Janice Riley is going to come up. She's going to entice you with what's coming up for our prose anthology. And after that, I'm going to tell you about what we're going to be doing in April, which is Poetry Month.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I want you each, when you get home tonight, the first thing you do is go to redwoodwriters.org.
Yes.
Starting today, the submissions are open to the 2024 anthology. The theme is transitions. Each of us, every day, multiple times a day, are faced with transitions. The anthology is all fiction, but I want you to be able to call upon your personal experiences, create fictional characters, embellish on those, and send us your best stories. We have a team of 12 judges and an editorial team of 11. And they're waiting for your submissions. Now, since it opens today, how many of you, I want to see hands, are ready to submit tonight? I've got two. The other thing I want you to make sure that you do today is to make sure that you are a member of the Groups I.O. because once a week I'm going to be sending out tips, ideas, things, and maybe there just may be some incentives there to not wait until the last second to send in your submissions. So be sure and watch for that. Details on the website. Look forward to seeing you.
We're going to do some board announcements first, and then if there are members who have events, and I know we have one, because Pamela Heck has something really cool to announce, I wanted to tell you what's happening in April around poetry. We have a celebration of poetry on April 6th in this very room. And not only is it a celebration of poetry, we're going to be bestowing an honor on our very own Linda Loveland Reed. She is the first winner of the Fran Claggett Holland Award for outstanding service to the club. And if you don't know Linda, you need to meet her. She is also a polymath because she is a poet, a writer, a painter, a teacher, and a beautiful human being. So you want to be here to honor Linda as well. And we're going to have 25 poetry. We'll have 25 poets reading at the event, which takes place April 6th. And you've already gotten at least one invitation, and there's going to be one coming out tomorrow.
And it's on the website.
It is on the website. Please make time to be here. It's going to be fun. It's going to be another party. And then our meeting on April 20th, I believe, is the right date. It's the third Saturday of the month.
Yes.
Okay, April 20th, we are doing something a little different. It's going to be a time to do some workshopping with a number of key educators, writers in the room, and you
On
can,
poetry.
On poetry. And we encourage you, you can submit ahead of time because we're going to select a few folks to do it up in front of the room, but we're also going to be breaking out into small groups. It's amazing. And Les Bernstein, our poetess, I'm going to say in residence because she is a force of nature. Les is organizing this, and she's got some great people who are going to come and work with us because we all want to get better. And we have a lot of poets in the room, I know, but there's some of you who maybe haven't let your poet out. This will be an opportunity to give it a try because you can go from one format to another when you know how to unlock that. So that's April. We'll be announcing the winners of the short play contest at the meeting as well. So that's what I've got in front of you. And with that, I think we've got, Roger, why don't you tell them a little bit about what's going on with membership?
Is there something?
There is something. There's always something going on with membership. And Roger is also president of all of the CWC chapters.
Oh, that's a nice look.
I know. I'm good.
I was at the screen. So, do we have new members here?
On the camera, Roger.
Okay, Sean. It's your job, Sean. New members, raise your hands. Gotta give out a couple of these pins while they last. We like to give out some gifts to our new members if we can. I didn't bring enough. I didn't think there'd be.
No, I think I might have some in my bag.
Oh, okay.
If I don't have them in my bag, I will get them to you.
And we'll get you our special little notepad book. Who's got a notepad book? The Redwood book?
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Those are nice, aren't they?
Yeah.
Sorta.
Are we gonna give away,
Oh.
gotta figure out how to do that, right? We got a couple giveaways if we can, but anyway. Let me say something about membership, because we have.
Ask the question, and they can answer a
Okay.
question.
Do I get to ask the question?
You get to ask the question because you.
Okay, how many know about Rio Bravo? Oh, no.
No.
That was loaded, you know that, right? Yeah, where's the desk from The Godfather? Where is it?
The desk?
Yeah, where's the desk?
In Jimmy Hoffa's home.
Oh.
It's up in the winery.
No, it's not. He moved it.
Oh, where did he put it? Is it still a trunk?
Okay, I guess we can't get that one, huh?
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Got a question, Barbara? A teaser? What was yesterday's Wordle?
Oh, I forgot. I forget too, and I did it.
You got it? You know what it is?
I think it was erupt.
It was erupt. Okay. Parker gets a bottle of wine if she wants one.
Good job, Marker.
You are good.
I can't remember what happened to dinner last night.
Okay. Was Al Pacino crazy at the Oscars? Just testing the water there. Let's see.
Stuff at the Oscars.
What book is Holden Caulfield in? Just raise your hands. Too soon, too quick. Name Kurt Vonnegut's first book. No.
It's from him.
What? No. Okay. Let's see. If you were a character in one of Mara Johnstone's books, how many arms would you have?
36.
Who said that? Melena? Melena gets a bottle of wine. Say it. There you go.
Moscato or red?
Ooh. Yeah.
We good?
Are we good?
No, we have one more.
Oh, we have one more? Oh, okay. Let's see.
I've got a good one.
Yeah, go ahead.
How many Helen Barnhart Award winners are there in the room? Who said 2?
Chrissy.
These two.
No?
Where did I hear it first? I heard it over here first. Okay, it's one of our new members.
Gotcha.
That is absolutely correct.
There you go.
Three.
What
was the answer, 2? And then,
No, there's
three.
actually 3, but you all didn't know that. That's okay. We're gonna go with 2.
Anna, were you a London winner too? Oh, you weren't? Okay.
Yeah, we have some,
We'll
we've
give
got some-
away, but.
It's like we've got EGOTs.
Okay, one last thing for those who can spread the word. We expect you in the next meeting, which is good for the next 2, which are going to be a lot of fun. We want to see you both. And boy, if you haven't tried it, that cake is good.
Oh, yes.
And so we're going to have another one of those. Where was I? Yeah, oh yeah. For the next 2 meetings in April, we expect you to bring a friend. We may not let you in on the list. We want you to bring a friend who's a writer and is interested in writing something personal or fiction, a poem, something that they want to share. And this is the ideal place to become a member of a group that wants the same thing, writers helping writers. So I really encourage you in the next 2 events, which are going to be a lot of fun. Bring a friend, bring a neighbor, and then in May, when we have the plays,
yes,
of which I'm confident one will be mine. You didn't submit, did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, damn. There we go. So did Melena. We're all in some trouble, gang. What did we have? 40 plays.
Wow.
Wow. Because that's what our members are all about. We're the largest branch in the California Writers Club. And the California Writers Club, by the way, in June, had 1,700 members. Today we have 2,200 members. Yeah. So the club is dramatically growing in some of its branches. And of course, we are the largest. But this is the half-year membership, so if you didn't know it, you tell your friend for $42, $42.50, they can become a member basically all the way through September, because we have a grace period. So that gives them more than half a year in which the discount price applies, if you will. It's a bargain, and I encourage you to participate if you're not a member yet, because we have Scott who's getting ready to join, right? Oh, Steve, I'm sorry. There you are. Good membership chair, can't remember her name. Where's that protege on the left? Oh, okay, I'm done. Who's next, Judy?
I think. Do you want to?
Members? I'll
Yeah.
do something real quick
Yeah.
since this board
This,
announcement.
this goes in.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I say this every single time because I want to make sure this is a non-pandemic action. And when we did the Sonoma County Writers Conference in 2022, we had just come out of COVID at the tail end. So there was a lot of people that still were a little not too comfortable showing up, rightfully so. I've been promoting this for over a year. I expect us to have at least 100 to 125 or more people. We're signing up new members every single month, as Roger just pointed out. 1,700 to 2,200 is almost a 30% growth rate with the club of the CWC. That's huge. So save the date, October 19th, 2024, right here, we are going to have an all-day conference of writers helping writers. It's gonna, I don't have all the details yet, but there's gonna be something in this for everybody. And the price point is gonna be unheard of for something like this. It's gonna be on par with what we've done in the past, but it'll definitely be under $200 per person, probably close to 150, maybe 175. Nowhere near the thousands of dollars you have to pay to go to the San Francisco Writers Conference or the Sonoma Writers Conference. By design, we're not getting big name people in here who are, you gotta pay $30,000 to show up. We're gonna get people who understand the simple task of writing and helping other writers, because that's what this club is all about.
And if you, Patricia, I'm sorry, Pamela.
Oh.
Sorry. Sorry. Okay, members, I know Pamela's got an announcement. Anybody else doing something related to writing that they would like to announce or tell us about so we can go participate?
Okay, I have to do it. I told you so.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I knew you were right, Pam. The moment you said it, I knew you were right.
Okay, I know the Ides of March was yesterday because it was my son's birthday. Okay.
And it was Pi Day.
And it was Pi Day, yeah. I have announced in 2020, in March of 2020, I hung an art show at La Bodega Restaurant in Sebastopol. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm so used to that. Anyway, and I was anticipating my big gala champagne artist reception. 3 days later, we went on lockdown. I never had the reception. My art has been hanging at La Bodega Restaurant in Sebastopol for 4 years. I kept saying, I'd like to take the art home. They go, no, we're going to have a reception for you. That reception is happening March 30th. I have flyers here. I'd love to share my art with you, but my children's book will also be there for book signing. This place is incredible. If you do nothing else but just want to go see this place, they are the kindest people with the best food in the world. It's a wine shop that also has a restaurant as part of it. And I would love to have you there March 30th. And I have flyers. If you think there's even a slight chance you might be there or someone you know might want to be there. So I'm getting over laryngitis. I have flyers. Yes.
Can you put it in groups I.O.?
I will do that, yes, I intend to. Okay.
Pam, are you going to mention Arts Alliance?
Yes,
Arts Alliance.
Oh, I'm so sorry, yes. Tonight at Cloverdale, Cloverdale Arts Alliance Gallery is having an art reception, and I'm hanging art there. Linda Reed was there a couple months ago, so we've had representation here from the club. So many of the members here also are artists in other areas as well. So tonight it's from 5:30 to 7:30 downtown Cloverdale at the gallery. Love to see you there as well. Thank you.
promise this might be the last time you hear from me today.
Oh wait, sorry, why?
What was that? I gotta ride home with you.
You might be able to ride home with her.
I know, right? So I just want to give a big round of applause for these two up in the front here who put together one of the best author launch events that I've experienced in the 7, 8, 9 years that I've been here. I know because I live with one of the people who put this together, and I know how much work it was, but it really wasn't because I saw her plan. It was at the last minute, because there always is stuff. But there's things that she does that amaze me, and that's when I was doing my reading, and I'm not joking when I say that if there's things that people do that are better than you and you want to get better at it, the hardest thing for most people is to say, can you help me? Can you help me? That's why the mission of this club is Writers Helping Writers. But for that mission to fulfill its purpose, it requires both sides of the equation. It requires people who have gotten up here, 17 of us today. I've been and seen a lot of presentations in my lifetime. Every single author that got up here today knew what they wanted to say, stood here confidently, and did it with conviction, with joy, with a smile on their face, and entertained us. There was laughter, I couldn't keep myself on, there's a joy that happens when we get out of our head and go do these things. Not everybody has that. A big part of what I'm doing is starting to teach on confidence building and using my 30 years of marketing and sales experience to help people understand how to talk about themselves, talk about their books. And my very first foray, which is completely out of my comfort zone, is to actually start doing online virtual workshops. So on the 27th of April at 10:30 in the morning, which is a Saturday morning, I'm going to be teaching a short, hour-and-a-half long event called Demystifying Book Marketing. It specifically is going to be geared towards self-published authors. It's going to teach you how to become a better self-promoter. And I'm going to give you some insights that I've learned in my marketing career, as well as other stuff that I've paid money, hard money out of my own pocket to learn, tips and tricks on what to do to be found, and to treat your marketing and treat your author career as a business and as a publisher. Because at the end of the day, if you want to make a living or earn money in this, it is a business. For the others who don't show up. The price point is going to be $25. I have a QR code back there. You can sign your name and I'll send you the link if you're interested. That's all I got. But I am here and determined to try and do what I can to help other people, because as I told my editor my editor told me when I was writing 10 Seconds of Boldness, there's one line in that book. And he said, you can't bury the lead, Sean. That one line was, I don't remember what it was. God, bury the lead and drop that. I don't want to die with any regrets. That was the line. And I had it buried down at the bottom of the chapter. He says, you need to lead the chapter with that. That's what I do when I wake up every single morning. I've seen too many people pass before their time is done. Their time is done when it's done. But I don't know how many more days I have left on this life. None of us do. So I'm going to do everything I can to try and help other people along the way and try and not be a you-know-what in between, because I do that too. So thanks for being here.
All right, thank you.
Hi again, everyone. Melissa Geisinger. When I'm not writing, I'm also, writing in my day job, but I also have a side quest being the technology director for the San Francisco Writers Conference. I just wanted to say that as a foundation for, I do technology in my day job, and I know a lot of you probably struggle with that, so in the spirit of Writers Helping Writers, I would love to just let you all know if you ever have a question about websites or social media or tying all the things together, just email, newsletters, grab my card at the back, just reach out to me anytime and I'd be happy to help. If I get enough people who want to help, maybe I'll do a workshop sometime with everybody, just something to make sure everybody is kind of where they need to be as far as their self-promotion needs to be. And also on a personal note, I was just informed by Barnes and Noble in downtown Santa Rosa that they would love to have me for an event. It's celebrating the anniversary of the 1906 earthquake. And I'm going to give a presentation. It's not going to be on April 18th, it'll be on April 20th, so the same day as our event here next month. I don't know the time yet, they haven't given me the time, they just confirmed me for the day, I don't know the time, so I will let you all know next month, or you can check my website in a few days.
Groups.io and I'm gonna.
What's that?
Yeah, Groups.io. I'll
Yeah,
talk to you
that,
about that.
I don't know how to use that yet, but I will figure it out, I'll let you know.
Okay.
But I will be having an event and speaking more about the history of the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, as well as how it affected us here in Santa Rosa, and how my own family history ties into all of that, and as well as my own experience losing my home in the Tubbs fire while I was in the middle of writing this book, coincidentally. So it's gonna be fun. Yes.
This is a good example for you all. We have a monthly newsletter. How many of you actually open it and read it? This is marvelous. But you know what? Sometimes stuff comes up in between. Or maybe you want to make sure everybody sees it. We have a mechanism for that to happen. So first I'm going to tell you what you need to do if you want to get a mention in the newsletter. Richard Coleman is our newsletter editor, and I have to say he's doing a marvelous job. This month I thought it just looked like spring, and it was so fresh, but it was so easy to navigate. He needs your submissions by the 15th of the month. Now, we all know there's a little flex in there, but if you can, get your information to Richard at editor@redwoodwriters.org. Then he can assemble the newsletter. And Groups.io. Now, you've heard a couple of us mention that. When you became a member, you were invited, but you may not have necessarily enrolled. If you did and you understand how to use it, awesome, because that's where we can talk member to member. If you don't know how to use it, come and talk to Roger, Chrissy, or myself, and we will.
Well, also, you may not know this, because I'm not sure how he distributed it, but Richard did a video of using Groups.io.
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
It's on the website. So,
Needs to be publicized.
yeah, so Richard walks you through how to use Groups.io. We realize not everybody got it. Not everybody was understanding it. So we want to make it super simple. So if you don't know how, either talk to us or watch the video. And we've got a YouTube channel as well. All of those really yummy, good things. And you know, someone who's here in the room who we don't see all the time, Marie Judson is the woman of the collaborative groups. If you want to be in a critique group, she's the person that you connect with. And if you aren't in a critique group or you've never done it, you're missing out. I have to tell you, I was in a critique group with Lenore for about a year and a half. I couldn't keep up with them. They were all retired, I'm not. And the amount of improvement I saw in my writing was staggering. And I wasn't a bad writer, but they were better. And that's why you want to be in a critique group. Other people will see things that you can't see in your own work, and you can share what you can see in their work and encourage them. And I'm going to say one last thing before I let you go have more food and buy books. We We have in Sonoma County 13 public libraries, and we have school libraries, we've got university libraries, and you know where people go who write? They go to the library. If you live near a library and would be willing to take a poster, promote us, talk to your local librarian, I want to see you before you leave today. We need to get the word out because there are so many writers who could benefit if only they knew about Redwood writers. And I think that's all I've got for you today. Thank you again, and keep writing. Next year, you're going to see me back there and up in front. Thanks.